I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
In the world of royalty, where everything is carefully planned and every move is watched by the public, secrets rarely stay hidden forever. But one secret, locked away for nearly 40 years, has shocked the royal family and the world. A handwritten letter by King Charles has been discovered, one that could change everything Prince Harry believed about his life, his past, and his beloved mother, Princess Diana. The letter was hidden deep inside the royal archives, untouched for decades. When it finally came to light, one simple sentence sent chills through those who read it. The sentence read, "He can never belong to her. He doesn't truly belong to her in the first place." Just a few short words, but their meaning was powerful and mysterious. Who was he, and who was her? Was the king really saying that Harry wasn't truly Diana's son? Could that be possible? This letter was believed to be written around 1985 or 1986, a time when the world saw Charles and Diana as the perfect royal couple. Their marriage was still young, and they had already welcomed Prince William. Soon after, Prince Harry was born. On the outside, they appeared happy and united. They waved to crowds, posed for pictures, and seemed like a fairy tale. But behind closed doors, their relationship was already starting to fall apart. Charles was distant, and Diana was struggling. Still, no one imagined that a secret this big could be hiding in the shadows. The letter seemed to be written to someone Charles trusted deeply, possibly a religious leader, a counselor, or a personal friend. It wasn't meant to be public. It was private and personal, showing a side of Charles the public had never seen. The words felt cold, not the kind of thing someone would say about their wife or child, unless something more was going on. Many royal experts were confused. They tried to understand the meaning behind the message. If Charles was not speaking about Diana in anger, then maybe he was revealing a deeper truth. Was it possible that Diana was not the biological mother of Harry? Could there have been another woman involved? One whose name has never been spoken in public? The idea seemed crazy at first, but as people read the letter again and again, the questions grew louder. Some historians began to connect the dots. They looked back at the early years of Charles and Diana's marriage. They remembered the many times Diana had been rushed to the hospital with unclear health problems. The public was told she was suffering from stress, exhaustion, or other personal issues. But inside the palace, staff whispered about difficulties. With fertility, was it possible that Diana was unable to have another child at the time? If so, could the royal family have used a secret method like a surrogate to continue the royal bloodline? If the pressure to produce a second child was too great, the palace might have felt they had no choice. They may have decided, behind closed doors, to involve another woman to carry the child. That child would then be raised by Diana as her own. It would have been a carefully guarded secret, known only to a few, and the public would never be told the truth. If this theory is correct, then the letter from Charles might have been his way of speaking the truth to someone he trusted without ever letting the world know. He could not say the words out loud, but he could write them down in a private letter. He doesn't truly belong to her. Those words now sound like they were full of pain, confusion, and perhaps even regret. Maybe Charles wanted to talk about it, but he knew the danger of revealing the truth. Maybe he was trying to deal with his own feelings, knowing that a child, born through another woman, would forever be part of his family and part of the lie. For many years, quiet rumors have floated through the royal household. These were not the kind of stories people talked about in newspapers or on TV. They were whispered behind closed doors, passed between staff members, and shared only with trusted friends. One of those rumors was that Prince Harry had not been born the way the world believed. Some people said that a surrogate mother had been used, and that Diana had been asked to raise the baby as her own. This story sounded too strange to be true. Most people ignored it. But now, with the discovery of King Charles's letter, the old rumor is starting to seem more real. The timing of the letter, the secretive tone, and the strange words all point to something being hidden. People are beginning to look again at what really happened during those years. During the early 1980s, the royal family was under great pressure. After the birth of Prince William, everyone expected another baby soon. The public wanted it. The royal family needed it. But behind the scenes, things were not going smoothly. Diana was young, stressed, and often in the hospital. The reasons were always vague. But some insiders say that she was having trouble getting pregnant again. Doctors were called and specialists were consulted. And soon, talk of using another woman as surrogate began to spread among the inner circle. If true, it would have been one of the biggest secrets the royal family ever kept. A surrogate pregnancy would have solved their problem without causing scandal if it stayed hidden. Diana, already struggling in her marriage, might have been asked or even pressured to go along with the plan. She would raise the baby as her own. The public would never know. The family's image would remain perfect. This theory might explain many strange things, like why Diana always seemed to be closer to Harry than to William. Some said she was simply more protective, but maybe there was more to it. Maybe she saw Harry as someone she had to protect more than anyone else. Maybe she knew something the world didn't. It could also explain why Harry has always seemed different from the rest of the royal family. From a young age, he struggled to find his place. He felt out of step, misunderstood, and disconnected. As he grew older, he spoke openly about his mental health, his sadness, and his search for identity. He even left the royal family entirely, moving to the US with Meghan Markle to start a new life. Could all of this be connected to a truth? He never fully understood. And what about Charles? If he knew the truth all along, why did he write the letter? Maybe he was feeling guilty. Maybe he needed to tell someone. The letter wasn't meant to be found, it was private. But now that it's come to light, it's forcing everyone to look again at the story of Harry's birth. Could it be that the royal family built an entire life around a lie? A beautiful, well-loved lie, but a lie all the same. The thought is heartbreaking. And yet, it might also explain the silence. The long periods where nothing was said, the way certain questions were avoided. The way Diana carried herself, sometimes sad, sometimes quiet, always protective. Perhaps she was living with a truth she could never share. And now, years later, Harry is left with the pieces. If he has found out about the letter, and many believe he has, it would change everything. He would have to question his past, his relationships, and his identity. The mother he loved more than anyone might not have given birth to him, and the father who raised him may have kept this truth hidden. It's no wonder, then, that sources say Harry broke down in tears when he learned the truth. Not because he didn't love Diana, but because the story he believed all his life may not have been the full story. That kind of pain is hard to describe. It's not just the shock of the truth, it's the feeling of being lost in your own life. Princess Diana is remembered around the world for her beauty, kindness, and most of all, her love for her sons. From the outside, she looked like the perfect royal mother, hugging her children in public, shielding them from cameras, and speaking of them with deep emotion. Her love for William and Harry was clear to everyone who saw her. But now, with these new questions about Harry's true mother, people are starting to look at Diana's story in a new way. If Diana wasn't Harry's biological mother, what does that mean for the love she gave him? Was it real? Did she know the truth from the beginning? And if she did, how did she carry that secret for all those years? Many believe that if the surrogate theory is true, Diana was not just a loving mother, she was a hero. She may have taken on the role out of duty, out of love, or out of fear. But once she accepted Harry as her own, she gave him everything she had. People close to her have said that she always held Harry a little closer, protected him a little more, and showed a special kind of love toward him. Maybe that was because she knew he would need extra care. Maybe she knew that one day, the truth would come out, and she wanted him to have no doubts about how much he was loved. Even if the world didn't understand, Diana did. Her quiet strength and fierce love were unshakable. If she was asked to raise a child who was not hers by birth, Diana might have done it to protect the royal family, or to avoid scandal. But that doesn't change the love she gave. Raising a child, especially one born through such a secret, not easy. But Diana did it with grace. She didn't just protect Harry from the press. She protected him from a deeper pain, the pain of not knowing who he truly was. Perhaps her silence was her greatest gift. By never speaking of it, she gave Harry the chance to grow up feeling loved, feeling safe, and feeling whole. And even now, as the rumors come back and the letter is examined, one truth remains stronger than all the theories. Diana loved Harry deeply. That love cannot be questioned. And what about Harry today? As a grown man, husband, and father, he has often spoken about mental health, trauma, and the need for truth. Maybe these feelings come from something deeper than royal pressure. Maybe they come from a lifetime of not knowing everything. If the truth about his birth has now been revealed to him, it would explain so much. His decision to step away from royal duties, his need to protect his wife and children, his search for peace. If his entire identity was built on a secret, then everything he is doing now makes more sense. He is not running away. He is finding himself. The royal family, for its part, remains silent. They have not spoken publicly about the letter or the rumors, but silence can sometimes say a lot. It may be that they hope the story will go away, or it may be that they know the truth is too painful to face. Either way, the damage has been done. The public is asking questions, the press is investigating, and Harry, more than anyone, is left to deal with the emotional weight of it all. In the end, this story is not just about royalty. It's about love, identity, sacrifice, and truth. It's about a child who may have been born through unusual means, but who was loved deeply by a mother who gave him everything. It's about a father who may have kept a secret for decades, and a son who now must live with the truth. But most of all, it's about Diana, the woman who, no matter what, will always be remembered as Prince Harry's mother. Not because of biology, but because of love. And sometimes, that's the only truth that matters. From the day Prince Harry was born, the world believed they knew his story. Born on September 15, 1984, he was the second son of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. He was called the Spare, the fun-loving little brother to Prince William, the heir. The royal family smiled for photos, waved to the crowds, and acted like everything was perfect. But behind those royal smiles, many believe there were secrets hidden deep inside the palace walls. Some secrets were small, about arguments or rules, but one secret may have been life-changing. It is a secret that could change how Prince Harry sees himself and how the world sees the royal family. Over the years, people have talked about strange events during the time of Harry's birth. There was one moment in early 1984 when Diana went to the hospital, but no clear reason was ever given. There were no public photos, no statements, and no news stories about it. Palace staff simply said she wasn't feeling well. That moment faded into history, but now, some believe it was an important clue. What really happened during that hospital visit? Why did the royal family stay so quiet? Could there be something about Harry's birth that they never wanted the world to know? For a long time, the most common rumor was that someone else might have been Harry's real father. People often pointed to James Hewitt, a man Diana later admitted to having a relationship with, but that relationship started after Harry was born, so the timing didn't match. Still, people kept wondering. But now, a different and even more shocking idea has come up. Not that Charles isn't Harry's real father, but that Diana might not be his real mother. It sounds impossible. Diana loved Harry deeply. She was always seen holding his hand, giving him hugs, smiling at him in public. She even called him her little darling. But some say love doesn't always mean biology. What if Diana was protecting Harry from something she couldn't tell anyone about? What if she was asked, or even forced, to raise a child that wasn't really hers? There have been whispers about this for years, but now, old documents and letters are being looked at again. Some royal watchers say there may be edited files in the royal archives. Others say a DNA test may have quietly been done in the early 2000s. The test results, they say, were delivered in a sealed envelope to Clarence House, the official residence of Prince Charles at the time. No one knows for sure who opened the envelope, or if Harry ever saw the results. Some believe the letter was hidden away, never to be spoken of again. But what if it said something shocking? What if it said that Harry's real mother was someone else, someone the public never knew? If that's true, it would explain many things. It might explain why Harry often seemed different from the rest of the royal family. Even as a child, he acted more freely, he joked around, he got in trouble. He didn't follow rules the same way others did. Teachers at his school said Harry asked strange questions, not about homework, but about his place in the world. One teacher remembered Harry asking, "Why do I feel like I don't belong here?" At the time, people thought it was just him being the younger sibling, but now, those questions feel heavier. Was Harry already sensing something deeper? Was he looking for answers no one could give him? Diana might have known something, but if she did, she kept it to herself. Maybe she chose silence to protect Harry. Maybe she was told to stay quiet. As a mother, she might have believed that the truth would hurt him more than help him. By raising him as her own, she gave him love, safety, and a place in the royal family. But even the strongest mother's love can't stop a child from asking who they really are. Harry, over time, started asking harder questions, not just about being a royal, but about being himself. And what about King Charles? He has always been seen as the serious one. He follows royal tradition, does his duty, and keeps his feelings hidden, but people close to him say he carries a quiet sadness, a sorrow he rarely shows. Could this be connected to Harry? Could it be that Charles knew something but didn't know how to deal with it? One former palace worker said Charles often looked unsure around Harry, like he wanted to show love but didn't know how. Maybe the reason wasn't a lack of love. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was pain. Or maybe it was confusion over a secret. He was never allowed to speak. The royal family has always been about image. Appear perfect, smile in public, keep the pain behind closed doors. But even kings and queens are human, and sometimes, the secrets they keep to protect the crown end up hurting the people they love most. If Harry grew up without knowing his full truth, or worse, if he knew something was wrong but no one would tell him, it would explain why he always felt like the outsider. Not just the spare, but someone on the edge of a story he was never allowed to read. As the years passed, Harry grew from a cheerful boy into a thoughtful, troubled young man. At times he laughed the loudest at royal events. At other times he looked lost, even when surrounded by family. Behind the fun and jokes, many now believe, was a boy, and later a man who didn't feel like he belonged. Royal life had rules, roles, and expectations. But Harry didn't feel connected to any of them, and that disconnect may have had nothing to do with rebellion. It may have come from a deeper need to know who he really was. When Harry met Meghan Markle, things began to change. She wasn't just his wife, she was someone who listened. She didn't grow up with royal rules. She asked questions that others were afraid to ask, and she noticed the sadness Harry tried to hide. Meghan encouraged Harry to speak, to search, to understand himself. Many say she was the first person who gave him permission to wonder out loud. Who am I really? That question, once locked inside, finally came to the surface. Meghan's support gave Harry the strength to stop pretending everything was fine. This search for truth may be the real reason Harry stepped away from royal life. People thought it was about Meghan, or the press, or a desire for privacy. But maybe it was about finally having the freedom to look for answers. If he believed that something about his birth wasn't right, that the story he was told didn't match what he felt inside, then how could he stay in a system built on silence? Harry didn't just walk away from duty. He walked toward truth. And that truth, whatever it is, mattered more than titles or crowns. Back in London, King Charles took the throne after Queen Elizabeth passed away. In the days that followed, a letter was found, an old, personal note possibly written by Charles. The contents were never made public, but some say the words inside revealed something powerful. It wasn't a letter filled with anger, it was filled with sorrow. A sorrow so deep that some believe it may have been connected to Harry's birth. Was it a confession? A hidden truth? A way for Charles to express something he never could say face to face? People close to the king say he has always been troubled about his relationship with Harry. They appeared together in public, but never seemed close. The hugs were stiff, the smiles felt forced. Some said it was just personality differences. Others felt there was something deeper holding them apart. If Charles believed or knew that Diana wasn't Harry's biological mother, it would explain a lot. The distance, the sadness, the quiet looks. Sometimes, secrets don't keep people safe. They just keep them apart. Inside the palace, rumors have always existed, but there was one moment that stood out after Prince Philip died. Harry returned to the UK for the funeral. Behind closed doors, he met with Charles and William. It was supposed to be a time for healing. Instead, old wounds were opened. Charles reportedly asked his sons not to make his final years difficult. Harry took it as an attempt to silence him. He didn't want to fight, he just wanted answers. William, trying to calm things down, told Harry to speak with Queen Elizabeth, but to Harry, it felt like just another way to avoid the truth. This pattern of avoiding questions, changing the subject, pretending everything was fine, hurt Harry deeply. It wasn't just about being ignored, it was about being unseen. He felt like a puzzle piece that never fit. He wanted to know where he came from, who he truly was, not just the spare, not just the prince, but Harry, a man, a son, a person with feelings too big to be hidden behind royal curtains. When Harry released his autobiography, the world finally heard his voice raw, real, and emotional. He shared painful moments, he talked about fights, sadness, and the feeling of being invisible. Critics said he was being dramatic, but others saw something deeper. A man trying to understand his own life. A man trying to find peace after years of confusion. A man who, even with all the riches in the world, still carried a broken heart. Harry's journey is more than just a royal story. It's the story of many people. People who grow up feeling different, feeling lost, feeling like their story was written by someone else. For Harry, the castle walls were high, but they couldn't keep his questions out. And now, those questions are reaching the world. Even though Catherine remains cautious about Camilla's role in her children's lives, she continues to support the relationships that are built on genuine love, especially the one between King Charles and his grandchildren. She knows that royal life will never be simple for George, Charlotte, or Louis. It comes with pressures, expectations, and attention from the world. But she wants them to face it with a strong heart that starts with knowing they are loved, deeply and unconditionally. And she has seen that love in many moments with Charles, whether it's through his warm gestures, playful interactions, or thoughtful gifts. Catherine believes in surrounding her children with people who lift them up, and even though she may not always agree with everyone's methods, she respects true emotional connections. What's also touching is how King Charles extends his love beyond just the children he sees regularly. His relationship with Prince Harry's children Archie and Lilibet is more distant, but not by choice. They live far away in California, and with family tensions still present, visits are rare. Yet Charles has continued to reach out. In 2023 and 2024, close sources revealed that he sent birthday cards and thoughtful gifts to both Archie and Lilibet. On Lilibet's birthday, he reportedly wrote a personal letter and sent her a small present with meaning. These may seem like small acts, but they mean a lot when you consider the emotional distance that exists between families. According to insiders, Charles has told friends that he hopes to see all of his grandchildren together again one day, perhaps during Christmas in the UK. He hasn't given up on rebuilding the bond with Harry's family. That hope is a strong part of who Charles is, not just as a king, but as a grandfather who longs for connection. Catherine understands that family love, especially in a royal setting, is not always easy. There are public eyes on them at all times, and mistakes are often magnified, but she also knows that children need protection from pressures they don't yet understand. That's why moments like the one with Queen Camilla telling serious stories to Louis and George touched her so deeply. As a mother, she saw her children's reactions, and she acted not out of anger, but out of love. That act reminded her that no matter how royal their lives become, they are still little boys growing up, still learning who they are. She cried that night, not because of conflict, but because of how important her role is in guarding their emotional world, and it's not just about keeping them away from pressure. Catherine also wants to guide her children with empathy and wisdom. She often takes the time to explain things in a way they can understand, and encourages learning through play, imagination, and conversation. She encourages their close bond with Charles because she sees how much joy it brings them. Whether it's a friendship bracelet, a silly tie, or a playful moment on the palace balcony, these are the pieces of a royal childhood that they will never forget. They won't just remember being on camera, they'll remember the laughter, the bedtime stories, the walks through the maze at Sandringham, and that is something Catherine values more than anything. During public events, you can sometimes spot these loving moments if you watch closely. During one recent balcony appearance, as the world watched the royals wave and smile, Charles bent down and whispered something to Princess Charlotte. Her eyes lit up, and she smiled back. At that same event, Louis reached out and held his grandfather's hand as the noise of the crowd grew louder. These moments weren't planned, they weren't formal. They were simply the quiet comfort of family amidst the noise. And Catherine, standing beside them, saw it all. In interviews and public appearances, she has often mentioned how important it is to keep her children grounded. She wants them to grow up knowing who they are, but also knowing they are safe, supported, and loved. Queen Camilla, for her part, has continued trying to connect with William's children, but the distance remains. There is no open fight or visible drama, but Catherine remains firm. She supports positive relationships, but she draws lines when needed. Some royal watchers say that Catherine's approach has helped the family avoid larger conflicts. She doesn't argue in public. She doesn't respond with anger. Instead, she quietly protects her children, holds her boundaries, and focuses on what truly matters, giving them the best foundation for the future in many ways. Catherine represents a modern royal mother, graceful, warm, and emotionally wise. She knows how heavy the crown can be, and she wants to make sure her children are not weighed down too early. That's why she takes every decision seriously, whether it's where they go to school, who spends time with them, or how they learn about their family history. And while many people imagine royal parenting to be filled with nannies and tutors, Catherine is very involved in her children's daily lives. She reads with them, plays with them, and talks to them about their feelings. In private, she's not just a princess, she's simply mummy. Looking ahead, the role of the royal grandchildren will only grow more important. Prince George is second in line to the throne. Charlotte and Louis will support him in their own ways. They will one day carry the future of the monarchy on their shoulders. But thanks to Catherine's careful guidance and the quiet love of their grandfather Charles, they are growing up in a way that blends tradition with tenderness. They are learning that being royal is not just about waving from balconies, it's about showing heart, even when the cameras stop flashing. In the end, the story of Catherine's quiet tears and protective love isn't just about one moment or one conflict. It's about the many small choices she makes every day to raise kind, confident, and happy children. It's about knowing when to step back and when to step in, whether it's guiding them away from conversations that feel too heavy or watching proudly as they bond with their grandfather. Catherine leads with love, and that love shines through in every smile, every giggle, every little hand that reaches for hers. Behind the crown, behind the royal titles, behind the formal photos, there is a mother and her children, and beside them, a grandfather who is doing his best to stay close. In that quiet space between royal duty and real emotion is where the truest moments happen. That's the story that matters most. It was supposed to be just another normal day for Princess Catherine at Adelaide Cottage, the family's quiet home in Windsor. She was organizing old items sent from the royal archives, personal belongings of Queen Elizabeth passed down to her as the Princess of Wales. These included letters, documents, and keepsakes from the Queen's private collection. Catherine felt honored to receive them, thinking they were simply part of tradition. But she had no idea that among those papers was something that would change everything. While carefully opening a velvet folder, she found a sealed envelope, marked "Private Eyes Only." Out of curiosity, she opened it, thinking it might be a message from Queen Elizabeth written before her passing. Instead, what she read left her breathless. It was a letter written many years ago, and it suggested something deeply troubling about the future of her own children, Prince George and Prince Louis. The letter spoke of discussions about changing the royal line of succession. At first, Catherine didn't understand. Why would anyone want to change the line when George was the direct heir after William? But as she kept reading, her heart began to race. The letter mentioned quiet conversations led by certain senior members of the royal family, including Queen Camilla. It hinted that Prince Louis and even George could one day lose their titles, all under the cover of modernizing the monarchy. Catherine was stunned. Her mind raced with fear and confusion. How could this be happening? Was it real? Was someone trying to move her children out of their rightful place in the royal family? The letter was old, but some of the names and dates suggested it might still be relevant. Catherine broke down in tears. As a mother, her first instinct was to protect. Her sons meant everything to her. She knew that palace politics could be cruel, but she had never imagined that Prince George and Louis, innocent children, could be caught in such a storm. And what made it worse was that someone she trusted, Queen Camilla, seemed to be involved. Catherine had always tried to be respectful. She had accepted Camilla as King Charles's wife and avoided public drama, but now, she began to wonder if Camilla had been using her new power behind the scenes. Was she trying to shape the future for her own grandchildren, at the expense of Catherine's sons? Questions filled Catherine's mind. She didn't want to believe it, but the letter felt real, and its words carried the weight of truth. Catherine immediately went to William. He could see something was wrong just by the look in her eyes. Through tears, she told him everything about the letter, what it said, and her fears for George and Louis. William listened closely. He took the letter in his hands, read it silently, and then sat still for a long moment. The weight of royal duty, fatherhood, and now potential betrayal sat heavy on his shoulders. Catherine knew this wasn't just about titles. It was about her children's future, their identity, and their place in the world. She remembered how much they had already given up: privacy, freedom, a normal life just by being born royal. Now, to think that their own family might quietly erase their roles in history broke her heart. Catherine wasn't angry for herself. She didn't care about titles or power, but her children were too young to understand what was being planned behind closed doors. She knew she had to fight for them. This moment became a turning point. Catherine transformed from a quiet royal figure into a strong protector. She and William agreed they needed to act, but they had to do it carefully. They didn't want to create a scandal or cause chaos. Instead, they decided to gather information, speak to trusted allies, and prepare for whatever might come next. Catherine began making private phone calls. She reached out to royal historians, legal experts, and even former aides of Queen Elizabeth. She needed to know if what she had read in that letter was true, and if so, how far the plan had gone. Each conversation gave her more clarity. While not everyone could confirm the details, there was a pattern. Decisions made about titles and royal roles had started shifting around the time Charles became king. Camilla had taken more interest in family matters, and some unusual steps had been taken regarding royal succession. For example, George had received a clear royal path, but Louis's future role seemed less defined. Some people Catherine spoke to hinted that this might be on purpose. A quiet decision to reduce the monarchy by limiting how many members held major titles. But Catherine saw through the soft language. This wasn't about cutting costs or simplifying traditions. It was about controlling the future, and her children were at risk. Catherine didn't sleep much after that. She kept checking on George and Louis at night, gently brushing their hair and whispering promises that she would always protect them. Her tears were no longer just about fear, they were about strength. She was ready to fight for her family, no matter who stood in her way. While Catherine and William were quietly preparing to confront the truth, trouble was already stirring behind the palace gates. The same week Catherine found the letter. Another old royal document resurfaced, this one connected to Prince Harry and his mysterious past. According to reports, a private letter had been discovered that raised serious questions about Harry's true parentage. It suggested that Princess Diana might not have been his biological mother. Though the claim was shocking and painful, Meghan and Harry took it seriously. They began seeking answers from experts, lawyers, historians, even private DNA specialists. Meghan was heartbroken, but she stayed strong. She encouraged Harry to find the truth, not for scandal, but for peace of mind. Strangely, this discovery had a ripple effect. The royal family, already shaken by the Queen's death, now found itself facing two growing threats, one from Harry's side, and another from within through Catherine's discovery. Inside Buckingham Palace, a sense of panic took hold. Staff were seen working late into the night. Secret meetings were held in hidden rooms. Lawyers were called in. Archive files were being rechecked, and whispers filled the hallways. The old walls of the palace, built to protect secrets for centuries, were now trembling under the weight of too much silence. Queen Camilla, usually calm in public, was reportedly more tense than ever. She had worked hard to become accepted as queen, but now, her name was tied to rumors of quiet moves that might change the royal line. If the truth came out that she had influenced decisions to push Catherine's children aside, her image could be damaged forever. Many people inside the palace remembered how Camilla had already faced public judgment in the past because of her role in Charles and Diana's troubled marriage. Now she was in danger of becoming the center of a new storm. Catherine, meanwhile, refused to play palace games. She stayed out of public view but focused on protecting her family. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want to attack Camilla. She just wanted the truth to be respected and her sons to be treated fairly. But the silence from the palace was deafening. No one addressed the issue publicly. No statements were made. It was clear that the royal family was hoping the situation would simply go away, but it didn't. Journalists around the world picked up the whispers. Independent investigators started digging deeper into old royal documents. Even some members of parliament began asking quiet questions about what was really happening inside Buckingham Palace. The Queen had always been a guardian of royal secrets. Many believed she had known the truth about both Harry's past and the plans for future succession, but with her gone, those secrets were beginning to slip. And in that silence, speculation grew. William, caught in the middle, faced an impossible task. He loved his father. He respected the monarchy, but he also loved his wife and children deeply. Seeing Catherine cry had shaken him. He knew she wasn't someone who cried ice. When she did, it meant something was truly wrong. William stood up in quiet support of her. He began looking more closely at royal plans and quietly instructed trusted staff to gather more documents. He wanted to know the full truth, and once he had it, he would decide what to do. For now, the world watched in silence. Catherine carried on, attending public events with her usual grace, but behind her smile was a storm of emotions. Every time she looked at her sons, she remembered the letter, and every time she thought about Camilla, she felt a mix of sadness and strength. She had once hoped the royal family could move forward in peace. Now, she wasn't so sure. As pressure grew, Queen Camilla began limiting her public appearances. She stopped commenting on family matters and avoided being seen with Catherine. Royal insiders said tensions between the two women were higher than ever, but Catherine didn't flinch. She stood tall, holding her son's hands, showing the world that a mother's love is stronger than any crown. This was no longer just a family issue. It had become a national question: who truly deserves the future of the monarchy? And would love, honesty, and truth win against tradition and silence? As weeks passed, the situation only became more intense. The media began to ask the question everyone feared: would Prince George and Prince Louis lose their place in the royal family? Was Queen Camilla really trying to change the rules, not just for her own benefit, but for her own grandchildren? And if so, could Catherine stop it? In the heart of all this drama, Catherine stood strong. She knew that her role was more than just wearing crowns and waving from balconies. It was about defending her family. Every day, she reminded George and Louis how proud she was of them. She encouraged them to be kind, honest, and brave. She told them that they were special, not because of their titles, but because of their hearts. Privately, she continued meeting with lawyers and royal experts. She learned about how royal succession laws worked, how titles were passed down, and what could legally be done to protect her children. She discovered that while many decisions were based on tradition, there were legal ways to challenge any unfair moves. She began putting a plan in place. Carefully and quietly, with William by her side. They decided not to go public yet, but if pushed, they would speak out. Catherine even started preparing a private letter not to leak, but to keep for her children. In it, she explained everything: the letter she found, what it meant, and how she had fought to protect them. She wanted them to know one day that their mother never stayed silent when it mattered most. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla stayed in the shadows. Some insiders said she felt misunderstood. She never meant to hurt anyone, they claimed, but the damage was already done. Her silence made things worse. The public started turning in support of Catherine. Newspapers praised her strength. Online forums filled with messages like "Catherine is the real queen in our hearts." People were touched by her quiet bravery. Through it all, King Charles remained distant. He never addressed the issue publicly, but many believed he had made secret decisions behind closed doors. Whether to protect Camilla or avoid another scandal, he stayed silent. But silence, in this case, spoke volumes. As months passed, the storm calmed on the surface, but Catherine remained watchful. She had made it clear to the royal family: George and Louis would not be sidelined, not now, not ever. Whether they choose to live as working royals or private citizens, they would do so with dignity and respect. In her final private words to William, after a long night of talking and tears, Catherine whispered, "They may wear crowns, but I wear the courage." That one sentence showed the world who she really was. Not just a princess, not just a mother, but a woman of deep strength, fighting for truth in a world full of secrets. The future of the monarchy may still be uncertain. There may still be secrets hidden deep within palace walls. But one thing is now clear: Catherine will never let her children be victims of royal games. She will protect them with everything she has, and in doing so, she has already earned the love of millions. The story of Catherine breaking into tears is not just about pain, it's about power, love, and a mother's unshakable promise. She stood up against a system meant to silence her, and she did it with grace. In the end, whether George or Louis wear a crown or not, they will always have something far more powerful: a mother who fought for their future.